It's Saturday morning, about 11 a.m., September 15th, 2012. I'm getting better at getting these recordings down and saving them digitally to where they can be put then on a portable hard drive, a memory stick, and then be sent to investigators, federal and state investigators under the administrations of Governor Jerry Brown of California and President Barack Obama of the White House of the United States. You may not be able to hear it, but in a very quiet place we live, it's easy to hear airplanes like this one here, and it sounds like he's taking off because you can hear him starting to gain elevation, and you can hear his motors, the motors under duress of these airplanes, no matter how small they are, even ultralights, they have to exert more power in order to gain elevation to climb. And when they do that, the resulting noise that they put off is easily to, you can easily pick that up because of the quietness here in the neighborhood of the area and the community in general. It's just a really quiet area. So you have to become very suspicious when you get this aircraft coming over your home at 1,000 feet, because you have thousands, millions of acres here and thousands, hundreds of thousands of square miles where these people could go, and they decide to come over my home. So when Michael Reagan comes over here to the local community college here a couple years ago, it's just all part of the scam that's going on. Copper Mountain Community College is located where these foothills here drop off to the left and then terminate. It can be found on Highway 62 here in Joshua Tree, about 10 miles away from here. So again, if you listen carefully, you can hear the airplane. Really quiet neighborhood. But the problem with this neighborhood is it can get out of control just within a few seconds. How's that? We get a lot of criminals that show up here, out here in Joshua Tree, and because of the quietness when they're here at night, they think the area is like really quiet, and of course that they believe that allows them to go and commit their crimes. And the problem is they're so stupid, they're always being witnessed. That's the most hilarious part of it all. So I no longer hear the airplane. There we go, start to hear him again. Now on this property, on the day I called George Bush back in 2008 in July to help him and his stupid, whatever he was, this young man, Andrew, I don't remember his name, I had to go back and look it up. It's been 5 years now. This is the guy that I was on the White House telephone lines for 90 minutes. And right after I called him, the same day or the next day, I had about 75 flights over my home in a single day, and I counted 16 aircraft, small craft like the one who tried to mow me down, the rest of these assholes, 16 of them up in the air over my home at the very same time. And all I can tell you is the only people who behave like this, with my experience in government, are the Nazis. So Bush and company and all you Republicans, you put extremists in the White House that are really nothing but Nazi sympathizers, and the fact that George Bush and his family, through all these books, report the story on his family. The Bushes, Prescott Bush, Senator Prescott Bush, which is George Bush's great-grandfather, was a known Nazi sympathizer. He hid money for the Nazis under Brown Brothers Harriman. And when a journalist went out and exposed him, the next day the Dutch journalist was found dead in a Wall Street gutter in the street. So this is how the Bushes operate. If you don't think they do, you're full of shit. And Prescott Bush was basically ousted out of the Senate right after the United States Senate. But do not think that U.S. senators cannot be beyond this kind of shit. I'm sure Democrats can do it, but all fingers and signs and everything else point to Republicans doing it. So I think the one you need to focus on today, the biggest criminal out there right now, appears to be Senator Orrin Hatch, because the crimes that this man does are, he's Mr. Cover-Up, and he's the man who's been chasing me for the last 30 years, and I have records of all this, and I'm going to bring him to justice. I'm suing his estate, and I'm going to throw him in the goddamn brig. So all I can tell you is, Republicans, you better get ready to write the check. It's really tragic and sad. I'm going to go back now and take a shot of my home so you can see how I live. Pretty meager existence. I thought I like space. That's why I left Orange County, because you can't get any acreage or space or square footage. They don't like giving it to you down there. So I moved out here. I'm on 90,000 square feet, which is roughly 2 acres. I live in a 1,285 square foot home. It's 3 bedrooms. It's technically 2 bedrooms because the rooms are so small, but the developer, when he sold me the home, the builder, he says, I won't be able to sell the house as a 2 bedroom. So he split the 2nd bedroom to make a 3rd bedroom, and hence you have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, 2 car garage with central air conditioning. And that's where I live. And it's a nice home. It's well insulated. My energy costs are low because of my swamp coolers that I use. So here's a nice shot of my home. This is where I live, 2916 Wesley Road, Joshua Tree, California. I don't know what my GPS is, my latitude, but I'm sure the Republicans and Al-Qaeda and all them know what it is. You know, Mitch McConnell, Governor Rick Perry, Texas. The most disgusting, reprehensible of them all is really Rick Santorum. Him and Romney are the biggest liars I've ever known that ever ran for office. Okay, got these recordings. Here's my beautiful pine trees that I put in. These are known as Afghani pines. They thrive in wilderness environments. You can take desert communities and plant these trees and then turn them into mountain communities. And when these trees are wet, when you're watering them, just the breeze is like air conditioning, but to stand in one of these is really peaceful, you know, in the shade of one of these trees. These trees here are, here's a good perspective of Wesley Road. Now you're seeing what I see. See? Let's get a little closer. You can see how I got a nice shot of all this dust. This is the fence line. These trees here are sycamore trees. They grow to be 75 to 100 feet tall. They have them down at College of the Desert in Palm Desert, California, that have been planted there maybe 50 or 100 years ago. They have a whole row of them. They're beautiful. I was inspired by these trees to find out what they were. So I purchased them myself from local nurseries or nurseries out of the area and brought them here and planted them. Now we're going to walk over here to the back of my home. I'm going to show you my solar installation. It's not completed. I've never been allowed to finish it because of the harassment from the Sheriff's Department. But what I did do is I installed the system to be able to see if it would work. While we're walking over there, this Mercedes-Benz, I bought it around the year 2000. It's quite a remarkable automobile. It's a 1972 280 SE, and for 2 or 3 years, they ran a prototype motor in it, a 4.5 liter V8. These cars normally had 4 cylinders and 6 cylinders in them. The cars still weigh 2 tons, but they didn't have enough power, so Mercedes stuck a 4.5 liter overhead cam V8 in them with fuel injection. The cars are fast. This car the speedo goes up to 160 miles an hour, but I never took it past 130. Master cylinder eventually went out, the brake master cylinder in this car, and I parked it. Haven't bothered to get around to it. But the deal with Mercedes-Benz is you can buy parts all the way back to 1899 through a website called mercedesmuseum.com, which is actually owned by Mercedes-Benz. And what they do is they'll remanufacture any parts. So you can go to Mercedes and get like door window trim, window seal trim, you know, for the windshield. You can get horn buttons, all the stuff that's impossible to find for these older cars. You can purchase it, and you can actually build the car from scratch, chassis, motor, everything. It runs you about $500,000 to bring a full car back from the dead if you're starting with chassis and everything ordered from Mercedes. So they've done a really remarkable thing to honor the older cars. They're the only manufacturer that does it. Everything like those old Fords and Chevys, Camaros, Mustangs, and Chevelles, those are all aftermarket companies. They actually build, you know, steel bodies for Camaros and all that. But these are outside manufacturers, not General Motors doing it. Now, let's go to the back of my home. Propane tank. It'll eventually go, but it's going to stay for right now because it works as a good backup. And what I'm going to show you here are solar panels. And I purchased these here, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and they're 175 watt panels or 200 watt panels. And I got 4 of them, and I've never been able to do the installation and finish it off because every day here we get pounded 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times a day from aircraft, gunfire, helicopters, all these attacks, the television and radio, right-wing media. Basically all the Republicans stuck together to be able to destroy this presidency and my life in the process. And they're responsible for the wrongful deaths of my family members, the burglaries, the hackings. Rupert Murdoch will lose his entire empire over this because they just thought I would fucking submit and give in. So the installation is not done, it's Mickey Mouse, but the fact of the matter is it still works. I have it hooked up to 6 batteries inside a battery bank inside the house. And the battery bank is hooked up to an inverter which switches over to 110. However, the battery bank is also directly wired, which we can show you here. Let me get over here. Get in the shade and then you can better see this. The battery bank is also hooked up, and I haven't put the wired installation. Now, I'm sure you can get the county over here to nail me on code violations, but this is all low voltage wiring. It's 12 volts, and what you're seeing here is a swamp cooler that runs on solar panels, and I've had it here for 6 or 7 years under the back of my home, and you can see how I've installed. I just simply cut a hole in a piece of wood and left the sliding door open. When I leave the house, I close it, but this unit here cools my home. And right now it's about, I don't know what's up. We're going to go out the front of the house and read the thermometer, but it's supposed to be about 90 and 100. And inside this home right now, it's going to be about 75 degrees. It might climb up to 85 on days that get, like, say, high humidity, because it is a swamp cooler. But if you turn fans on with 85 and you live in the desert for several years, that's not bad at all. Plus the moisture content. So I eventually need to replace the filters. Here we go. Here we go. Got him. This is the guy here. This is the guy here. The same one that attempted to mow me down, and kill me, is so stupid enough he showed back up with the aircraft. And see, this is a typical attack of what we have to put up with. Right over the house. Here he comes. Here he comes for the attack. Here he comes. I can't get him now, but you got him. That's the same fucker that just tried to kill me back in March. He's back again. There we go. And he's coming back. This is why I videotape, because you see that? This guy here was about what, 75 feet, 100 feet off the ground, comes directly over my home in an ultralight. All I can say is this is why I produce this evidence. You wonder why. So does anyone from the Republican Party want to explain to me how, being above the law, this is all legal? Okay, now he's gone, see? This guy is so stupid, he actually thought I went inside my home when I walked around it, because, again, the only way this guy can gain this perspective is from that location right over here. In fact, the sun right now is showing up over this water tank. That water tank right there, you see it? Look where the fence post is. Look above it, you see some Joshua trees to the right. On the hillside is a water tank. Well, directly above that is the lookout point from the Sheriff's Department, and from that viewpoint perspective is where they order all these crimes against me. Now, walking over in this direction, out there, what I can tell you is, let's see, let me get it, okay. Right about here where these homes are on the hillside, about 3 miles past along this ridge, heading eastbound, is the Joshua Tree Airport, and that's where this airplane is stationed out of. I've already called Senator Feinstein in with the numbers. And I also went online, looked up the registration, it was suspended. And these attacks are all done. They are all to coordinate with the attacks in the Middle East, and the burning of the U.S. embassies and the murder of our ambassadors. And these are all the same people doing it. Al-Qaeda has been ordered from the Koch brothers. That's what I'm contending, because the only reason they would go and attack in Libya like this is because Libya was a big oil-producing nation. And Libya, of course, Muammar Gaddafi was raped, and so they revenge back, because this is how they are. These are little-minded people, and they send out people to do these attacks. And here's a clear case where the pilot fucked up and just was stupid enough to get himself on film. And I can tell you this, if I was willing to stand out here long enough, eventually we would get him videotaped and catch him in the act. And you see how these attacks, he hasn't come back. They just make one attack and then they're gone. Then you don't see them for 3 or 4 months. This is typically what they do. So I'm glad we got it on video. Just wonderful to be able to document these crimes. Now the question is, Mr. Eric Holder, Do you have the hair on your chest to step up to the plate as the U.S. Attorney's Office and go after these criminals, or are you is the U.S. Attorney's Office going to stay true to form under the Warren Commission, the JFK assassination, and look the other way? It does take a lot of work. You have to have the political wherewithal, and you have to have the hardening of your resolve to pursue these criminals. Do you have it? That's the real question that I'm going to include here in these messages. Okay, I'm going to end it. We're going to terminate this. It's Saturday, September 15th, 2012, and it's sometime around, we're going to say around maybe 11:20 a.m. I don't have a clock on me, a watch, but I'll walk in, and when I said earlier about 11 a.m., I was off by 6 minutes, 10 minutes anyways. So now you see what we have to put up with as citizens of the state of California, as residents of Joshua Tree, California. And my question is, when are you going to stop these people? We need to know, because I'm no longer able to help you if you keep causing my family to suffer by taking no action whatsoever. Governor Brown, I'm very proud of what you've done so far, and same with you, President Barack Obama. But I'm most especially appreciative of Senator Feinstein and Leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you all.